Throughout the history of life, nature has produced a multitude of different forms of animals. But looking through them, with sometimes appearing as distinct from each other as possible, there is the same attribute applying to some that catches everyone's eye right away: their sheer size. Many correlate immense creatures with prehistoric times, but in fact, we actually live in the same era with the largest of them all: the blue whale. The blue whale is very famous for its size, with females of some populations reaching an average length of 25 meters and a weight of 130 tons. We know that it's the largest living animal. It's also recognized as the largest animal that ever existed. But what if we approach this statement with a bit of skepticism? Could there have been an animal bigger than a blue whale? For many, the giant, long-necked dinosaurs, called sauropods, may come to mind first, as animals that can potentially rival the mighty blue whale in size. Some of the largest sauropods surpassed any cetacean in length indeed, but not in body mass. Weight estimates for gargantuan sauropods, like Argentinosaurus, vary greatly between 40 to nearly 100 metric tons. Either way, they are lighter than the average blue whale, and considerably lighter than the largest recorded specimen, at a whopping 173 tons. Well, whales are very compact animals. They live in water, so they don't need legs to support themselves in order to move. Since the buoyancy of water already does the job, they just have to propel themselves through the water. Therefore, it's unsurprising that aquatic animals tend to get a whole lot bigger than terrestrial ones. About 71% of the Earth's surface is water covered anyway, so they have plenty of space to do so. Also, like some other dinosaurs, sauropods possessed air sacs and hollow bones, which lightened their bodies. That's how they could grow so large in the first place. If a land mammal was upscaled to that size, its body would collapse simply because of its own weight. Terrestrial mammals are way more restricted in size due to the lack of such characteristics, hence the largest of them were only about 1/3 or even less as heavy as the biggest sauropods. There are people saying that it may not exactly be fair to compare whales to sauropods when talking about size, since whales live in water, but based on this we could also say that it's unfair to compare sauropods to elephants too, because the former also have major advantages over the latter. Stop defending sauropods! Although, suggestions about certain species of sauropods with weights very closely approaching or even surpassing that of the blue whale are not unheard of. However, like most other giant sauropods, these species are only known from fragmentary remains, and while early estimates of them weighing 120, 150 or even 220 tons, which is almost a quarter of a kiloton, are most probably extremely inaccurate. Among recent, more moderate estimates too, it's practically impossible to decide which might be the most reasonable. This is especially true when it's unclear exactly what species was the animal even related to, like in the case of the great Bruetchaeosaurus metlii, where it's only known that it was some kind of titanosaur. Species, especially poorly known ones, can get reclassified too, like Amphicoelias fragillimus, which was originally thought to be a member of the family Diplodocidae. Using the proportions of the famous Diplodocus, a length of a staggering 58 meters has been calculated. Later, in 2018, the species has been renamed to Merapunisaurus fragillimus and reclassified as a member of the family Viacheslav, reducing the estimates of length to about 30 to 40 meters and weight to sometimes as low as 70 tons. Which is still pretty impressive to say the least. It's in the same range as the mighty Argentinosaurus. Long story short, size estimates regarding species only known from fragmentary material should be treated with caution. They may have been enormous indeed, but most likely not as colossal as they were thought to be when they were even more poorly understood. It's commonly stated that herbivores are able to get much larger than predators due to the great abundance of plants. Like, imagine you're a grazing animal and you're on a grassland. All the floor is food. Anyway, while this was true when talking about terrestrial habitats, it's entirely different in marine environments. Plant life is way less numerous in the oceans. Plants need to photosynthesize, which gets really hot below a few hundred meters, where sunlight cannot penetrate properly. Thus, carnivore dominates down there. Flesh also has much higher energy density than most plants. Plankton and small fish swarm in the water as well, so they can be collected at once with ease via engulfment. Due to these factors, many herbivores may spend nearly the whole day eating, whereas a baleen whale can acquire a good portion of its daily calorie intake in one gulp. It's likely that a theoretic 150-ton sauropod simply couldn't be able to consume as much food in a day as it should. With these things in mind, it comes as no surprise that the world's largest animal is actually a carnivore. Seemingly no herbivore can beat it, so let me introduce you the other notable contenders, the iconic ichthyosaurs. Ichthyosaurs were carnivorous marine reptiles, with generally more or less dolphin-like appearances. Among them there were giants too. In 2018 an unnamed species fragmentary remains were described, suggesting an animal potentially reaching a length of around 26 meters. That would make it one of the longest aquatic vertebrates, about as long or ever so slightly longer than an average blue whale. However, even though it might appear robust from a side view, large ichthyosaurs were actually very slender in profile, so it would still be significantly lighter than a blue whale of the same length. Plus, length estimates of 22 or as low as 20 meters have been suggested too. Predators have a harder time growing above this size due to consuming prey and exhibiting feeding methods different from what is seen in baleen whales. A sperm whale, for example, tends to target large, rarer squid species like the giant and colossal squid, and more frequently, more common, medium to small sized ones, yet it's unable to collect prey in vast quantities, therefore its size is limited by the availability and size of its large prey. Meanwhile, with their unusually large mouth for giant animals, baleen whales filter feed on tiny plankton, and there is an immense amount of them available. The Antarctic krill, for instance, is one of the most abundant animal species on the planet, with about 3 to 400 trillion individuals. Moreover, as whales increase in size, they spend more energy lunging, but at the same time their gulp size increases disproportionately. So the larger they are, the greater their energetic efficiency becomes. It appears that being a filter feeder is the best, if not the only option for growing as gargantuan as a blue whale. Obviously, even whales face barriers though. They cannot grow to any size either. Numerous reports of blue whales with lengths surpassing 30 meters exist, but the longest scientifically measured individual was 29.9 meters long. There is one report of a 33-meter specimen, but it's been suggested that a whale this size would need to generate such power for even a single lunge that it would require extensive rest and recovery afterwards. Lunge feeding is a unique and extreme feeding technique, yet not limitless. After all, it seems like the blue whale is absolutely the most massive an animal can get. Apparently nothing has been able to knock it off the throne in regards of being the largest, under known circumstances that nature on Earth has witnessed so far. Life has been around for more than 3.5 billion years, but sometimes the most outstanding examples of it happen to exist in an unexpected era. In our time. So yeah, it is the biggest animal that ever existed. Or is it? A study published in August of 2023 enough described a new species of That's a story for another video which might challenge this statement. The species was named... Cut!